live on here. My audio is already recording. I'm going to record this just so I have it. And then I get the audio. Okay.
Is my audio pretty good?
Oh, dude, it's crystal clear. I love it.
Wonderful.
On here. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about Papadosio. So, and this is what's great. So first of all, I think I want to say, I think I saw you,
I'll say, dude, you look super familiar.
Like a week and a half ago, I was at Calvin Fletcher's with a friend of mine grabbing a cup of coffee. And I think you were like sitting, at the table right by the cash register. So I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. That's one of my 4 offices in Indianapolis I rotate coffee shops quite frequently. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen you there.
So I was like, dude, I think that's him. But anyway.
And you didn't even say hi. You didn't even say hi.
Every now and then I'm like, do I want to be that guy? Do I not want to be that guy?
You're always welcome to be that guy. If you ever see me, I'm offended if you don't say hello.
I chose not to be that guy on that particular day, but I was checking your, I was just looking through some YouTube videos to check out some of your stuff. So I saw a set that you guys did at the Trap from June 1st of last year, maybe.
Oh man, yeah, it's been a minute. Was it just me or was the band with me?
It was you and then a dude on a sax and
Curtis.
Then played the drums and then did all the production and played the guitar.
Yeah, those were the days, man. That was just me and Curtis just jamming out together. It was a very lonely road up until that point, and then I stole him and then 2 other guys from 2 other very successful bands, and I was just like, I'm taking you guys and stealing you. You're gonna play with me now.
Well, I want to hear how you got started, but I'm gonna hog a little bit more time just to say that so this is why I love what you do is I used Ableton for production for quite some time back in like 2000. So it's probably like 2008 to 2010, maybe.
Awesome, man.
I played in a band called $6 Suit, and we used to open up for Papadosio way back in the day.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah.
For like $500 to come play a venue in Lafayette.
That's so cool.
And we played their festival twice when that was still going on and a big thing. But the Trap just holds this awesome spot in my heart.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And play music. So
for sure, man.
From listening to you guys just brought back like a swell
of the memories.
Oh my gosh,
the good old days. Yeah, no, man, I'm super grateful for a lot of the venues that have given us opportunities to play here in Indy, like the Hi-Fi. The most recent gig we played was at the Vogue before all of the craziness, and Mousetrap was, I think, the second venue I played when I moved to Indy about 6 years ago. First show I ever played in Indy, it was like 6 years ago, was the Melody Inn. It's been a long journey since then, man. It was good times. Very different times. Yeah.
Okay. So whoever's joining us, whoever's listening in right now, we're talking to Dan Giffin, producer, musician, performer, works with Ableton, does workshops, I'm assuming, and teaches other people how to utilize that piece of technology. It's so powerful. Shout out to Ableton because
yes,
when we interviewed Ira Glass and went to go see him at Butler, that's what he used to launch all of his audio to like do his live show, which was kind
of man, I know people using Ableton just to program robotics through OSC and MIDI messages. Like it's a black hole. You can do so much with it from like studio to stage. So it's a great company, man. It's a really, really good company. And recently I was actually I just made it through all the rounds of interviews and I became an Ableton certified trainer as of like a month and a half ago. So it's been a long road, but yeah, it's a great company and I'm super blessed to be a part of that.
No easy feat. And we'll dive into what Ableton is, but like, Dan, where did you grow up? You said you moved here about 6 years ago. Where did you grow up and where did your background in music come from? Like, where did it all start?
Yeah, man. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere, a little town called Van Wert, Ohio. I was surrounded by a cornfield and
where that's at.
Say what?
And I know exactly where that's at.
Oh, do you really? Yeah, most people go there to get gas off the highway, like when they're passing through on 30. But yeah, I mean, I grew up there. I loved it, like small town. Didn't have much to do, so I just played drums pretty much every day of my life. That was all there was to do, is just practice music. And drumming has always been my thing before Ableton, really. And I grew up in a small town, and music was always just kind of like a fun side thing. Took lessons in high school and junior high. And then my dad bought me a drum set before he passed away, like a month before he passed away. And so I just beat the shit out of those drums all the time and just practiced constantly, and ended up meeting other local musicians in and out of cover bands things, went to jazz camps. And then I went to school because that was like the right thing to do. Like when you graduate high school, it's like, what are you doing with my life? That whole thing, midlife crisis for teens. And so, yeah. So then I went to Huntington University, which is like a private, small Christian liberal arts school, and in the middle of nowhere, Huntington, Indiana. Went there, got a marketing degree, ended up finishing that. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do marketing. I just want to make music, right? Like that's all I want to do.
And what is the time frame here? Like what?
Yeah, this would have been so I graduated from Huntington in 2012.
Okay.
And then I moved to New York City, which is very different than Huntington or the town I grew up in, and lived downtown Manhattan, studied at a school called Dubspot, rest in peace, Dubspot. It was a really hot school at the time for underground electronic music. And they had like probably one of the hottest Ableton programs in the world. So I kind of sought that out and went there for like their 4-month course. Finished that, tried to stay around, tried to move to a place in Brooklyn. Didn't work out. Long story short, I ended up moving back to Indianapolis. That's where my family relocated. And this was kind of like a place to get back on my feet because New York City is super expensive for anybody that doesn't know. And so, yeah, I moved back here and started doing online classes, learning mixing and mastering. Ended up connecting with the guy that started the mixing and mastering program at Dubspot, the school I was at in New York City. And yeah, Danny Wyatt, super cool dude. He's worked with Rihanna, and he's worked with so many different like famous, really well-known artists. And so he kind of took me under his wing and taught me a lot of mixing and mastering. And yeah, just started producing a lot of music here at home. Worked, got a big boy job doing a 9 to 5 downtown for a company in Indianapolis. And
what was the job? What were you doing?
I was doing marketing for an insurance company, and like my soul was slowly dying every day. And I just kind of was like, I don't want to be here, but like it's good money. So I did that for 2 years, saved up every dime, lived at home, spent all of it on music gear and equipment, and just invested into like a nice studio, like a home studio. And friends started hitting me up being like, yo, how do I do this in Ableton? How do I do this? And after like a year and a half, 2 years of people hitting me up asking to teach them Ableton, I was like, I should probably start charging for this. Like I love my friends, but I was like, I only have enough time in the day, dude. So I just started teaching Ableton, and then talked to a recording studio called The Lodge in Indianapolis, which has been around for a long time. Like John Legends recorded there. That's actually how I met Mac Miller for an evening, was at The Lodge because I was teaching Ableton there. And which is kind of how that led to the new Philia remix. But long story short, I ended up just teaching there, met a lot of cool people, kind of got plugged into the local scene at that point in my life in Indianapolis. And yeah, ended up going to LA about almost a year ago. And Laura Escudé, she was the first Ableton certified trainer in the world. And for people that are just joining, if you don't know what Ableton is, it's like a music software that's one of the most popular softwares today for live performance and for like producing music in the stage, especially with electronic music. But she was the first Ableton trainer, studied under her. She does live playback engineering, which she just works with artists and helping them set up their live tour rigs using Ableton. And so she was like Kanye's right-hand woman. And she's like just a huge thought leader in the industry with like electronic music production. And she's just been a huge inspiration to me and a lot of people. And so I went to LA for 2 weeks and trained under her with her master track program that she has, and taught like how to do crazy live technical setup for bands and stuff. So I moved back here. I was producing under the name Philia. It gets really lonely on stage when you're just performing by yourself. And just, I hated being called a DJ, even though all my friends called me a DJ, just because, I mean, I came from a jazz background. So like for me, it's like there's DJ and then there's like musician, but like, and there's like a lot of argument around there. Like I have a lot of respect for DJs, don't get me wrong. But yeah, so I just started kind of shopping around. I was like, okay, who are some like the baddest musicians my age in Indianapolis? So I just started going to shows, supporting local scene and just meeting people that way. And this is in like the last 3 years, and just really started trying to get more plugged into indie, and met a couple amazing musicians, Curtis on saxophone, Andy plays keys with me now. And then my friend Frank, who plays bass, who moved to indie from my hometown, Ohio. He has like the most amazing beard in the whole world. Like it's just this massive Duck Dynasty on steroids kind of beard. And I love those dudes. And so like I call them my friends, but I'm also lucky to play with them because they make me look really good on stage. So
What bands were they playing in? Like, were they playing the same style of music?
these guys play in like 5 bands, like each of them. So
Wow.
like there's a lot of like iCalendar going back and forth whenever we're scheduling practice and shows. But yeah, Andy has his own Andy Greenwell, his own band. And like I feel like pop music in Indianapolis is like such at a young level. Like there's just not a ton of pop music that's really happening in the scene here. But
I would
he's
say
killing it.
no, like I don't.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess it depends on what your perception of like what is pop music, right?
Right. Like what is a genre really? There's like 16 subgenres of every genre out there.
I completely agree. So we're talking about genres. So how did you get into? And I want to play at some point. We're going to play a little bit of your music because I really love it. Like it speaks.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
I think that you go through a point in life where you latch on to a certain style of music, and that will like never leave you, right? Like it just always impacts you in a certain way. And there's certain bands that like Soundtribe, Sector 9, Pretty Lights, like
I
I
love them.
especially Pretty Lights, like when he first started coming onto the scene, like
Yeah,
music was so different for what was going on.
totally.
And like Soundtribe Sector 9, especially with your jazz background, I feel like you would appreciate them if you don't know who they are. But
Yeah, I do.
it just like moves you in a completely different way. So like the style of music that you play is very much in that vein, right? But you've got like this really nice bounce to it. It's kind of
Thank you.
still wompy, but not like beat you over the head like Skrillex does.
I like a little bit of the womps, and sometimes beating over the head's not bad. It's just it's that balance, you know?
Well, and I think the difference is the melody, right? And I think
Yeah.
probably comes from your traditional background is you can kind of weave in this nice sounding stuff that kind of lulls you in. You're like, oh wait, what am I listening to again?
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate that, dude.
So like what did you start listening to that kind of led you down this path to even pursue electronic music or using something like Ableton?
Yeah, I mean, you've name dropped a lot of them already, to be honest with you. I feel like we could be Spotify friends. Like, we probably share this. But I mean, Sun Squabby is another big inspiration for me that I've been listening to for many years. Late night radio, Pretty Lights, like you said. Break Science is another big one, which is, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, and I heard that it's Pretty Lights keyboardist and the drummer from, I think, Lettuce that teamed up together, and that's Break Science. It's just like a producer duo. Rust Liquid is another one. Artifacts, pretty much anybody from Mammoth Music Group. If you check them out, those are all the homies. They make some really good music. Those guys in that collective.
And when you came here, I feel like, and again, this is going back to like 2010, that Indianapolis had started to create this really awesome, like electronic music scene here, especially not just on the producer side, but like on the producer musician side, where you've got like a full band setup doing some of that stuff. I mean, if you go back,
Yeah,
bands like, specifically Twin Cats really started to stretch their sound.
sure.
You know, they had a lot of technical jazz stuff going on, but then
Yeah,
um, started bringing on a lot more of the electronic stuff as the years went on. You know, you had people like Cosby Sweater, which
yeah.
I wish that they were still playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to see them once at the Hi-Fi a long time ago, like when I first moved here. It was dope.
Gosh, they blew up, man, and especially
Yeah.
everybody listening. And this is like in the weeds, like we're talking like what do you inside baseball? That's the term. Like anybody who's been around the scene and like frequents the mousetrap, like Altered Thursdays started
Yeah.
with one person, Dave, I believe was his name. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Yeah, Dave Embryo. He started
Okay.
on Thursdays, which ended up being Altered Thursdays, and I think he started doing some producer stuff and doing music, and then he brought in Ashton, who played in a band called Umatic. Have you heard of Umatic?
Oh yeah, totally. I know those dudes. Hall. Oh man, this is embarrassing. I know those dudes real well. But yeah, they kind of took a break for a while. They're kind of doing their own thing now. But yeah, I know those dudes super well.
This whole group started cultivating this music scene. It felt like out of nowhere, like and maybe I wasn't here, and the Mousetrap has been doing this for many, many years before I even came onto the scene. But like it felt like I was there for the start of Altered Thursdays, and that kind of created this really cool pocket of musicians that were doing this style of music.
Right.
For it to continue to go on, and people are still doing it and enjoying it, I love it. And it seems like you're on that next wave of people doing that.
Thank you, man. No, I appreciate that. I think when it comes to like, you can call it jamtronica or whatever, it's basically electronic music with live instruments. That's becoming a hotter thing. And I think there would be more people doing that who are like great musicians and producers, but figuring out how to get that down for live performance on a technical level, I think is a big barrier for a lot of people. So I've been like really blessed to be able to go to school and learn that kind of stuff to be able to make it happen. But yeah, totally. Altered Thursdays, you mentioned, it's run by Matt Ramsey from Indie Mojo. They're doing like a live quarantine stream, as they call it right now, which is pretty dope on Thursday. So check that out. Go on Facebook if you guys want. Shout out to Mojo.
What are they doing for that? Are they just having different music live stream stuff?
Yeah, so they have like a setup and just like I think a couple cameras and a little bit of lights and production in the background. It's just mostly DJing, but yeah.
And you guys recently did something like a week ago, right? You live streamed it.
We didn't actually perform. We were just doing like a Q&A. I had people hitting me up and be like, "Yo, Dan, when are you live streaming?" And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I've got a lot of stuff going on. Like, since this, I mean that in a good way. Like, since this whole craziness, apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, like, I've actually become like 3 times busier. A lot of people are like, "Hey, time to watch Netflix." And don't get me wrong, I do really love Tiger King. Like, that's an amazing show. Like, anybody who's watched it knows. You should get Joe Exotic on the podcast, man. You should totally have him join. How amazing would that be?
I'd have a field day if we could actually make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a podcast called the Ableton Music Producer Podcast. And it's been doing really well. And I've been trying to invest more in that now, just because it seems like there's more of a time availability to do more interviews and live streaming, and there's more of an audience online right now than I think ever. Right. So I tried to do more episodes, and I actually thought about having him on there because I know he like obviously makes music and has like released albums and stuff. He's a musical guy. So I was like, maybe I could get him on my podcast. Be great.
You have an in, right?
Do a Tiger remix of one of his songs. It's like a remix competition.
That would be amazing. Like, just with his vocals. I saw a video. I don't remember what it was, but it was like some festival in Ireland, and some dude had like woven in this like speech from Conor McGregor, right? And it's doing this crazy build with this drop. Oh my god! Like, it's the one where it's like, "We're not here to take part. We're here to take over," and then it just goes nuts. But I could see you doing something like that.
Yeah. No, it's funny, man. There's so many little things in the songs that like people don't know about that we produce. Like in this Mac Miller remix that I think you're going to share in a second, is like that song actually started out with me just being really dumb. And like, I was a little tipsy, just having a good time in my studio. And I just started like recording like weird mouth noises into my microphone. I was like, I wonder how cool I can make this sound, like some sound design stuff, right? Just for fun. Cause I was super bored. It was like 2 a.m. So I just started being like in my microphone, and I pitch shifted it and turned it into this like percussive bongo type of thing. And you'll hear it like in the track when he's like, "One of these days we'll all get by." You'll hear that like weird mouth quacking kind of stuff. So I do that in most of my tracks, but I feel like a lot of people don't even know. They're just like I sampled a goose. I have a serious goose problem. Anybody who's close to me knows this, because I'm I'm very loud about it right now. Like there are geese 24/7. About a month and a half ago, I had about 74 geese fly into my apartment complex close to Broad Ripple, because I live on this little lake or river, and they're just everywhere, man. They're pooping all over the place, and they're honking 24/7. They're so loud because it's like mating season, so they're all like taking over the world or trying to. So I went outside and I was like, I could either like, you know, try to beat them or join them. So I just recorded a bunch of goose samples. And then Andy, the keyboardist, we did an Ableton workshop at Soundspace here downtown Indy. And we turned the goose into like this big fat synthesizer sound he was playing back on his keyboard.
Oh,
it was a good time. There's little stuff like that in a lot of the tracks, but yeah.
Well, and I'm going to play, and hopefully this doesn't kill the YouTube stream, but I'm going to play this Mac Miller Blue World Philia remix. Talk a little bit about this project, how it came about, and you already told us about the mouth noise, but like anything else of interest, just when talking about the track that people can like listen in for.
Yeah.
It might sound super easy, but like actually this shit took a really
well, I mean, like, I guess other than just like the samples I use in the track, like more importantly, I think is like the message and the meaning behind the track. This track means a lot to me for a lot of reasons, but I had the privilege of being able to work with Mac Miller for an evening at the Lodge Studios when I was teaching Ableton there, because he actually was just starting to produce in Ableton. And a lot of times when major label artists are on tour through like big cities, they'll want the artist to continue to keep writing and making music constantly on the road, which I think is like how he was able to release an album after he passed away, which is really sad. But he just had a lot of content. He was always writing all the time. So his label, you know, booked the studio for the entire evening. And I just finished class and I was walking downstairs getting ready to leave. I just like poked my head in the door. I was like, hey man, like don't mean to bother you guys in your session or whatever, but like big fan, love what you do, have a good night. And he's like, yo dude, come in, what's your name? Like he was super cool, like, and just real down to earth kind of guy. So we just started talking about life and music, and he started sharing about like his relationship with like Ariana Grande at the time, and like his problems with Justin Bieber and the drama that was going on. Like it was hilarious.
that quickly he opened up.
He really did, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like we both were kind of, have you ever just met somebody where you just like kind of had like a thing where it's like, yeah, this dude's cool. Like whatever, like you just get along real well. And on it. And I felt that like, he's just a super down to earth guy. And we were like both really into Ableton and stuff. And I think we had like a mutual respect for that. And so like, we just sat down, I was like showing him keyboard shortcuts as he was producing and showing him like little hacks and workflows and tips. And he was just like a genuine, really humble dude. And it was really funny, like his friend that was with him, it was just like hilarious. It was like, if I ever get to that level of like being a musician full-time or whatever, like I would love to do this. But like one of his best friends, like just literally was always on the road with him. And so I asked him, I was like, dude, what do you do when you're like, what do you do for work? Like when you're not on the road with Mac? And he's like, oh dude, I don't work. Mac just takes care of me. And he's like, don't you, Mac? And he just like winked at him. He's like, I got you, baby. And he's like literally it was just his friend that like went everywhere with him. He just like paid for everything. He's like his best friend. And
from like that TV show. Did you ever watch his TV show?
I really honestly didn't that much. No.
His friend's name was Q.
Q, yeah.
If that was him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hilarious. He had like dark brown hair.
Possibly.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, anyway, so long story short is like, you know, there was it was a pretty late night, and he went out to smoke a cigarette, and I was just talking with him about life and stuff. And, you know, he went through a lot of struggles, like addictions and things, like, and he was clean when I met him at that time about a year and a half ago, and just doing super well with life and everything. And he was just in a really good space, man. And like, we shared that struggle together, because I came from that background as well, like fighting addictions in a lot of different areas. And so we just had a good talk about life and about like hope in the future and just loving people and relationships. And like music is such an expression of life, and like why we make music is really just to try to bring truth and hope into a better world, you know? So that's really what this song is about. And the song is called Blue World, obviously, because he passed away. It was really sad and unfortunate, and he's missed. But I wanted to do this for him as a tribute, to be like, you know, he was a good dude. He made some great music. He inspired me. And I was listening to his music for like, ever since he dropped the song Donald Trump back in like 2011. Like I've been listening to his stuff, ironically now, but Yeah, but yeah, it's been cool. So this track is a tribute to him and to anybody who's ever like struggled with addictions, and just to kind of let people know, like, you know, there's a way out. Life's about relationships and just like encouraging each other to be our best selves. So yeah.
I love it. It's a perfect setup. We're gonna play the song. It's Mac Miller Blue World Philly remix. We're about to check it out.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. That was awesome, dude.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for listening. Maybe we can include the link in the description of the video too for people, so if they want to listen to it, high quality streaming later.
I threw the SoundCloud link up on the YouTube already, so it's all
right on. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
I'll put it in the show notes. One of the things that I love about live music is just watching the reaction of the person that's either playing the music or made the music. Like when you see somebody feeling their own stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I like that's like the acknowledgement of all the hard work that went into it, and you're like, I'm proud of this piece of thing that I put out into the world. So
big facts, dude. A lot of people just see the end result and they're like, oh man, that's so awesome. They just made a song like that. It's like, you don't know how many hours like went in.
How many hours did that take, and how does that process start? Like, I'm assuming you have like certain stems from the song where you can just put them wherever, right? Or is that something that
actually I contacted his manager and I didn't get the stems for that track, so I ended up just basically using a couple different tools that you can do to like extract certain elements out of like a stereo file. So I just downloaded the song Blue World off of Mac Miller's newest album and just extracted his voice and a couple other elements and then just basically produced everything around it. So that was a challenge in itself for anybody who knows how to produce and remix. That's something that you have to deal with. But yeah, really started with me just doing the weird, like just weird sound design, can't even talk, sound design with my mouth, just like making weird noises and turning it into something that was like musical. And then every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, the Philia band, Curtis, Frank, and Andy would come over to my place here in Broad Ripple and we just start tracking ideas. And they're so easy to work with, man, because I can literally pull out anything and we record pretty fast. Like they make my job super easy. Because I'm just like, yo, Andy, just make something cool and on this like 8-bar loop, and he just rips something out and it takes him like 4 seconds. And I'm like, it's ridiculous. So they make my job really easy as far as doing that. But most of the time I'll just producing most of the track myself, and then I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, I need some bass in this part, I need something in this part. And then it's been kind of an interesting thing of like, I've had so much music to the point where I was able to perform like a good 45 to 50 minute original set that I was proud of. And it took a good couple of years to get to that point now. But it was interesting because, I've only been playing with Andy and Curtis for less than a year. So Curtis a little longer, but it's been like, okay, how can I squeeze them into some of these tracks that they never recorded on? So that's been like a fun workflow of is like, all right, we're like rewriting old material so I can squeeze these new instruments with these new live band members that I'm playing with to make it sound unique. And I think it's actually been kind of cool because people who have been following Philia for a while, like when you go to a show, there's something like really special and magical when you have like a favorite song, say like, and everybody's experienced this. If you go to live shows, you go to see one of your favorite artists and they play a song, but there's like a surprise, like they don't play it the same way it's recorded. Right. And you're like, oh shit, that's amazing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of worked out in that way where since I had the live band with these 3 dudes, like the songs sound different now because we've
something that in your mind was always there. Right. And you just needed to because you're limited to what you can make, right? In terms of this sound that you have in your head of like, what can this song actually be?
Yeah.
With some of that stuff already in there, and you're just like, I got to find the right people to like really fully express this song.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And honestly, I think it comes down to like anybody who's a producer. I think it's really important to have trust with the people you collaborate with. And being able to trust them as artists and creatives and musicians, because it's such like a really unique process. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of art you're into. I think, I personally believe everybody is an artist. I think that like anybody who's human, I think has the ability to create. And when you create with somebody else, like it's something really special. You're creating a memory, you're creating something meaningful that you're presenting into the world. And when you're trying to do it like at a higher level, I think, being really picky and careful with the people you collaborate is really important. And so I'm really thankful and blessed to be able to work with guys that make my job easy, that I can trust. Like if I send Andy or Curtis or Frank a track, I can trust that whatever they come up with is going to be pretty awesome. And if it's not what I was feeling, then they can usually adjust, and we can, you know, write something musical and really well in a quick amount of time. So we already have like 2 other tracks that are finished that are unreleased that we're just kind of dripping at this point.
Nice.
So yeah, man, it's super fun. I love my life. I'm really blessed to be able to make music and teach a lot of other people to do the same. I don't know if I mentioned this or if you saw this, but I have a website called liveproducersonline.com, and that's pretty much my big boy job now, is teaching through that website and teaching people how to produce electronic music with Ableton Live, whether it's like producing in the studio or like live performance on stage. That's been like a project of mine for about 1.5 years now.
Awesome.
Actually just did a webinar through the site on how to set up high quality live streaming for other artists and bands that are wanting to do live streaming right now, because obviously that's like what everybody's doing. So yeah, just trying to help people and give back at this point, like in these crazy times, to help other artists kind of pursue their passions in new ways.
Yeah,
So
and fortunately, I think there's a handful of industries and just professions right now that are thriving, right? Like you started off at the top of the hour saying that you're busier now than you were before, and I'm
yes,
very much the same way.
yeah,
Like it's like now everybody has time that they've been putting off to do these things, that whether they're hobbyist or as like part of a marketing plan, you know, just
yeah,
talking about myself for producing podcasts.
sure,
Like now people have more time at home in front of the computer to do stuff and set it up. So it's just like, well, what better time than now? So like I
yeah,
been the silver lining to a lot of what's going on, I feel like, is those things that have been on your peripheral that are just like, I'll get to it someday. Like someday's here,
right.
right?
Yeah, that someday is now. Yeah, for sure.
I,
Like you could sit around and watch, you know, Tiger King and every other Netflix documentary that's going to come out in the next few months, but like I'm having to like force myself to like avoid that, to like be able to pursue and really take advantage of this time to
right.
pursue other areas of life that like are going to pay off later, you know?
Yeah, I think that the biggest regret is things get back to normal and you look back at the 2 months,
Yeah.
what the hell did I do with my time?
Right.
You
I
know, like,
just
I
ate.
honestly think that would be like, that would eat me up inside. Like
Right.
now, I don't like, my business is not 10 times better, whether that
Hmm.
includes money or not, but it's just like either my own like mental state about my business or like a business plan or furthering my business plan. Like if it's not in a better place, and all that said, with this air of, I know that I have the privilege to be at home with internet and blah 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 to
Yeah.
do that type of thing. So if you're in that situation, it's just like you can't look back at this time and be like, shit, I didn't do anything with it. Like,
Exactly, man. Yeah, and even to take that like one step further too is one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard as like an artist is comparison kills creativity.
yeah,
And I think like when you look on like your Instagram, you make a post and it only gets like 20 likes, you know, and you just like you feel sad inside and you're like, nobody loves me. I'm quarantined. I'm all by myself, you know, you're like in the fetal position, just eating peanut butter, watching, you know, Tiger King. Like I think you get to that point of where like you get really sad, but realizing that like, you know, it doesn't really matter what other people think. In the end of the day, there's always going to be haters. You can't compare yourself to other people because like you are the only you that exists on the planet. So like embrace yourself and love yourself to the fullest extent and just be creative and like do whatever brings you joy and brings you like excitement, like pursue your passions, because really it's just a matter of time. Like I personally believe time is the most valuable thing we've ever been given in this world,
right.
and how we use it is going to impact our future. So like, you know, I've been producing music with Ableton for 9 years, almost 9 years. Um, and like I'm just now starting to get to a point where I feel like the momentum has built up for so long where like I'm starting to see results, and like I'm actually getting to play shows that like I've dreamed of playing, you know, and opening for artists. Like we just opened like 3 weeks ago or so, whenever that was, at the Vogue for Manic Focus. And
I,
he's been like a big inspiration for me too. So like, you know, it's not an overnight success thing, but if you do something long enough and you work hard enough at it and you're smart about it and you work hard, like it will work out.
and that's the point that people don't want to see sometimes, you know. But it
Right.
is, and the best visual is always the iceberg, right? Like people only see the
Yeah.
top, and they don't
Right.
see like the 70 feet below, which is what like every creative artist who has made it to a certain point that looks like an overnight success, like that's the whole struggle, right? It's like it just looks like this top portion, but
Sure.
underneath there.
That's true, dude.
Who did the artwork for the remix cover for Blue World?
Actually, there was like some. So I have a guy named Evan. He works for a Paradigm agency in LA, and he's been a homie of mine for a long time. He's done like probably 80 to 90% of all the Philia artwork. But this new one, he was like super busy, and I needed a turnaround time pretty quick. So I presented my idea and my concept to an artist on Fiverr that I found. It was like a super last minute. So I just shopped on Fiverr, and I found this one girl from Malaysia, and she's awesome. And I loved her art. And I was like, this is my idea. Can you help me? We went back and forth, and she did it. So that was cool.
I think it's super dope, man.
Thanks, man. I think so too. She did a great job.
What did you give her? Like, what kind of instructions did you give her? Did you say, I want it to be like hippie psychedelic, but I still want to see his face?
I said, yeah. There was something like, here's the original artwork for his album. I want it to be a little trippy. I wanted like some flowers kind of like on top of it. So she did like a floral type of thing, like, you know, in remembrance of him and like everything that happened. And and then like, obviously, like, I just love like trippy stuff. So I was like, just make it look trippy with flowers. Yeah.
Really enjoy it. I'm gonna let you get out of here, but now
Cool, man.
you another opportunity for people to find out where they can listen to your music, follow you when things get back to normal. You know, if you have a spot that you guys typically play where people will be able to see you, all that stuff, man. Here's your opportunity.
Yeah, no, man, I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I've been listening to your podcast for the last couple of weeks for sure. And like, I love what you're doing, and all the people you're interviewing here local in Indy. It's cool what you're doing. So thank you. But yeah, philiamusic.com, Philia. I had to think about that. Music.com, Philia Music. And yeah, we're on the interweb, MySpace, LimeWire. No, I'm just kidding. But mostly Facebook and Instagram. It's kind of where I live. But yeah, we're planning on doing an actual legit live stream that I'm working with. Rosto is a friend of mine. We actually had to cancel a silent disco. If you don't know what a silent disco is, everybody wears headphones, and it's Bluetooth. So you've got multiple feeds. Usually two DJs are playing, but we were going to do a silent disco with the Philia band, which I've never heard of a band doing a silent disco. So we were real excited about being the first ones, but obviously it got canceled with everything. But the headphone company won't give us a refund. So we will be doing a silent disco when all this blows over. And we're looking at doing some kind of rooftop downtown. So we can look forward to that maybe someday.
We might need to connect via email. I've got some ideas for a silent disco somewhere in Indy. And actually looking to connect with somebody about that. So
let's do it, man. Thank you again for having me. I'm super down.
And then you also said that you are certified in Ableton. So people want to like train with you or learn more, like where can they do that?
Yeah, totally, man. I've been, like I said, more busy now than ever. It's just through teaching through my website, Live Producers. It's a membership, so you just pay monthly, and there's two options. Both options give you access to like all of my Ableton courses, so you can learn at your own pace. And then the other is like more of a mentorship with me, where I'll actually work with you on your own projects and help you produce along the way. So yeah, that's liveproducersonline.com. If anybody's interested, yeah, I'd be super happy to help you make some music and stuff.
Cool. All right. I just put that link in on the YouTube page. We'll put it on our show notes. And if you ever feel so inclined to do something that has the vibe of drink culture, I would love to have a local musician represented as the intro music on our show. So just,
dude, totally. Yeah, 100%, man. I'm down. I appreciate you. This has been fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Definitely. And when you get details about the stream, definitely let us know. We'll put it out into the world so people can catch you. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing. Like I said, that
Thank you.
My soul. So any chance that I get to help you guys continue to grow a fan base in here, I would love to be able to do it. So
dude, God bless you, man. I appreciate that. I have one more thing before we sign off, because I'm going to feel like an absolute loser if I don't ask this. So is it Fabian? I'm saying it right? Fabian, dude. Okay. Yeah. Strike one. Fabian. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
For the rest of your day, stay indoors, stay healthy, stay safe.
Yeah. You too, man. For real. We'll connect soon. Thanks.
I'm good.
Peace. Later.